Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and all of you, the co hosts that make this channel so special and so brilliant, and the greatest place to be for unscripted tabletop role playing content and contemplation here on the interwebs, hosted by yours truly, DBJ. Now, today is Future Friday, and on Future Friday, of course, we like to talk all things scientific and science fiction, all wrapped around the creative process of storytelling and role playing and gaming and just being creative itself. And I thought we would step back a little bit from my usual transhumanist focused technology, and I thought we would talk about the tropes in science fiction and not only how common are these tropes that we all know them from all of our favorite and maybe not so favorite science fiction intellectual properties, but there's a good reason why they exist and kind of like why we love to hate them or hate to love them, or we accept them as being a trope and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, they're actually pretty good for us to use ourselves when we want to create tension or ramp up stories or show how professionally capable our player characters are, or we really want to establish that triangle of conflict between our protagonists, our players, our antagonists, or our enemies, or adversaries, and then we have that third element that all of those all those individuals have to worry about, whether it might be solar flares or radiation or a containment breach or a falling into an atmosphere, zero gravity, meteor swarms, all those kind of things, those outward things, and such. So I wonder what is a flaming D20. I wonder what that's going to show in the will it Gambit crit. It won't show it. I notice on Restream that they will show the language meaning of whatever the emo is, but it's pretty funny. Thank you very much for being here, Paradox Talks. All right, so I thought we'd talk about kind of like I've picked 5 broken tech issues that really represent sci-fi and the whole far future genre, and why we love to use them and why they exist in the first place and whatnot. And like I said, a lot of it we all know. One of the most classic ones is the fact that in Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon's hyperspace drive, for the most part, doesn't really work. And of course, it's for plot driven reasons. You know, you need your heroes to escape from the bad guys, but we don't want them to escape too fast. We need them to run through a chicane of issues before before the before everything runs out. Yeah, I see it. Dead Man. Dead Man says the video shows the emote. It will show it on the side here, but it won't show up if I bring it into the primary reading area, because I like to spotlight what people say. But yeah, it's not a big deal. Now, of course, the one of the biggest issues, since we're going to talk about, since I brought up like hyperspace drives, my first broken tech are engine and power problems. All right. So we know a classic in science fiction is the Star Trek, Star Wars, get down to the engine room, powers is draining. We can't go into hyperspace. We need more power. We don't have enough power. We need more of it. And oftentimes, a great thing that we can do when we are running our games or we're telling our stories is to foreshadow a lot of these events well ahead of time. Star Trek is really good for this by beginning an episode with something like the ship has just left dry dock and we aren't fully fueled. We need more dilithium crystals, right? Or the player characters get back to their spacecraft, and somehow someone somewhere, a maintenance person will say, "Hey, wait, don't leave yet. Your engines haven't been," and fill in a blank, refilled, readjusted. Yeah, yeah, like Paradise talks. The antimatter, yeah, the antimatter containment field failed, or something like that, or the whatever pseudo scientific reason for a thing not working, or having a chance not to work, or not being at its prime level, is often very, very common. As a matter of fact, in most of our intellectual properties, like on TV or movies, what do we see? We see a colored bar or pie chart or something, and you'll see a percentage sign next to it: 58%, 73%. They will give us a visual stimulus, like to say, hey, this thing is not at the level it should be when our main characters start using it. And so foreshadowing it up to, no, Lord, you didn't go there. Metachlorians are too low. Ooh. We don't use that kind of language around here. What is metachlorian? A 15-letter word? We don't use those kind of words on this channel. Oh man, you could get us banned. No, but yeah, engine failures are really common, and we need more power. We need to reverse polarity. The hacking, strangely, the hacking engineering issue of restarting the engines is a common thing. As a matter of fact, I've been listening to Ty and That Guy for Ty is a writer for The Expanse, and that guy plays Amos, the one who plays that guy. Thank you, Debbie. 13 letters. I didn't bother counting it. And there's a podcast with those two. One of the writers and one of the actors on The Expanse. I think they're up to like the middle, or the middle of season 2, because they talk about each episode in a podcast. But early on, before the podcast started from season 1, they ended with the last season of The Expanse, and they were talking about. They made a mention about dropping the power core out of a starship in The Expanse, and the actor was like, "I thought if you drop the power core, your ship was dead in the water." And the actor's like, "Yeah, it is, but it means that you just have to restart the engines, because the engines in The Expanse are like these fusion reactors where you only need a little bit of matter to activate them, usually oxygen, hydrogen, or something like that." And the actor was like, "I thought, like in classic science fiction, if you drop a power core, that you literally have zero fuel." And the guy's like, "It's almost impossible to have zero fuel according to our engines, because they're fusion. You could drop a sneaker in there." I mean, he says not literally, but it's essentially they're fuel rods, and you just drop the rods of fuel are essentially just base matter that gets broken apart, and we use that energy with it. He said the problem is restarting it. It takes a while to restart it. And he's like, "Oh," because I guess in one of the later episodes, they do that exact thing. They drop the power cord. And he's like, most people don't want to do that because, yeah, big bang, but it also leaves you dead in the water. And a lot of times we see that happen in a lot of our science fiction. The Star Trek, we need dilithium crystals in not which Star Wars movie was it? The Han Solo prequel movie. In that movie, they were buying, selling, trading, and stealing fuel rods for starships. And they hadn't really focused on that in Star Wars, but that was a commodity as well. And so if the player characters, if you just start out the game with or you start out your session with like, "Hey, yeah, guys, you are, I don't know, orbiting a gas giant, and it's literally like a gas station, and there's gas mining going on, and you need to be around this planet to, refuel your starship, however refueling happens." And oh no, plot starts, and the mechanism hasn't fully engaged, and the workers there are like, wait, don't leave yet. You're missing 38% of your before capping off, and then now we have ourselves a foreshadowed tool as running a game or something like that, where we can say, hey, guess what, this there's a reason why things are failing, and you can't fly away at super speed away from your enemies. It's also a great way because space is big, and we all know, we've run games before where, like in fantasy, where you give the players like flight or teleportation, they're going to get the hell out of there. They're going to cause trouble and get away from your. They're going to escape your plot as fast as possible after causing a whole lot of trouble, throwing a monkey wrench in it. And this is one of the ways we can keep our protagonists relatively localized. Paradox Talk says most of Star Trek Enterprise TV show, they took away the ease of travel by not using the transporters because they feared it. That this is another thing too, as well. Whether it's like using transporters, hyperspace, or something like that, there may be something built into the world that makes the thing difficult to use. So in effect, the tech is always in a state of being broken, and I'm using broken with air quotes. The tech might be in a constant state of being broken until it is perfectly aligned. Like, for example, navigation might be extremely difficult, and it might be because, hey, you don't want to navigate near asteroids and nebula and past star systems and gravity and all kinds of debris that's floating in the vacuum of space. So it might be extremely difficult, time consuming, complicated to, say, navigate into hyperspace. Another thing might be fuel systems might need to be calibrated perfectly. And if they are not calibrated perfectly, which might take a very long time or require experts, or heck, I don't know, within the parameters of the rules, it might need to be restarted from scratch each and every time to do a thing. Then yeah, it might be in a state of being broken all the time. The transporter issue, we've Star Trek plenty of times, orbiting planet. Hey, everybody, transporter capability might be offline because of classic interference, whether it's gravity or energy or being able to focus the sensors down on the party or something like that. And again, it could even be a sociological thing. People fear transporter problems. All right. Mm-mm-mm. Zamar says Star Wars 8. I ran out of fuel, so my starship will stop like a car. Yeah, well, ridiculous, but hey, let's be honest. Star Wars has sound in space. Ships pivot on a dime like a car, and we pretty much ignore gravity issues. So, is it that far fetched? There's even a perpendicular gravity in the deepness of space, which is weird. But yep. Paradox says Stargate universe, the ship was in control. That's also a possibility too, where something outside of the control of the player characters is controlling the thing that they need to use, like an AI system or a living ship or something like that. Dead Man brings transhumanism, like you're sleeved in a morph with very little battery power. That would probably happen a lot, especially in the clanking masses, and the PCs are like on Luna, which is the official term for Earth's moon, and they're on Luna, and they have to sleeve into like these broken down synthetic bodies or something. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, like Paradox says about the ship, it chooses when to go and where to go. Yeah, in the IC RPG, uh, the Index Card RPG by Runehammer, he in his sci-fi portion of his rules light game, it's called Warp. Warp Central, Warp Star, or something. And the PCs are like big, gun-toting heroes on a starship that goes to places unknown. And essentially it's a starship that's basically a big plot device that takes the PCs and puts them in danger and saves their butts when they need to get out of there. Mike says the biggest broken tech trope has to be the unreliable machine. Starships break down, guns fail or fall apart, and so on. This is always common in settings in the the ass end of space. Yep. So yeah, we talked about okay, so moving on from like engines and transporters and things like that. Uh, uh, Another thing that not specified, but a lot of times, like when he talks about the ass end of space, how many times have the literal fail safes failed? That's a common thing too. Life support, gravity, communications, power itself. Like, we have to power down our habitat, spacecraft. Heck, even the spacesuits often are given the proverbial green, yellow, red power bar that's on the side when the player characters leave too far away. And the reason why we love these broken tech issues is because on one hand, we have an acceptance of what the technology does in the first place. And in a way, we could claim that broken tech shouldn't be as broken in the future. Like, why are we in the harshest space is harsh. It Everything in space is trying to kill us uh meat bags. And yet when we get out there, everything seems to keep breaking down. And whether it's from some outside source, again, whether it's because of extreme heat or cold on the planetary surface they're on, whether it's radiation or a solar flares or something, maybe there's something insidious to the planet itself, some kind of infestation that is breaking down plastics and metals or something like that. Yeah, paradox. Like, yeah, space is like a mean Australia. Maybe it's just like regular Australia. I pick because yeah, we all know what is like Australia's got like more than 50% of the most dangerous animals in the world or something. It's crazy. Mm-mm-mm. But I agree with you there, Mike. Yep. Broken tech. Mike says the Millennium Falcon is famous for this, but Firefly also played on this as well. Yeah, how iconic is it that the craft that the main characters are in and our player characters are driving around in has issues? And a lot of science fiction games embrace this part, right? Like, hey guys, here is your junkyard level spacecraft, and through exploration and adventuring you can gain credits and other things to build on top of it. And it's fun too, right? You've got a hoopty of a car. All of us start out in life when we buy our first car, and it's like it is literally on its last legs when we decide to buy it in the first place. And as we get older, we want to get a car that is far more brand new and more reliable, and maybe even like more like a sports car, something sexy or whatever. And the same goes for the difference between our beginning player characters and the ones that move on. Also, something might be like another issue is being issued the broken tech because it just happens to be cheap too, right? Yeah. Mike says, how many times has Star Trek The Next Generation had the same component breakdown over and over and over again? I cannot remember what LaForge said, but it was always the same piece, like phase inducer. Phase inducers or something. Yeah, that's a thing too. The very thing that is needed to make the thing run breaks down again. And of course, those of us that are like absorbing it are like, wait a minute, didn't this happen last season? And if some person's like, last season, it happened last episode. Yeah, you're right. That thing keeps breaking. Why? Well, it's because it needs to break because plot, right? But it is funny because the thing will break and everyone's surprised. They're like, oh, I can't believe the phase inducers are not, I don't know, modulating correctly or whatever, right? And but it allows our main characters to be to look professional. Yeah, Paradox Talk says, yeah, everyone pictures the pictures the will pictures they will be everyone pictures they will be Han Solo or Kirk. They all end up being Galaxy Quest or Muppets in Space. Muppets in Space. Yeah, like Mike says, being able to improvise tech becomes their strength, and that's one of the reasons why things that break are cool because when a thing breaks, maybe we get to see their other strengths. Maybe they're calm under fire. Maybe they're brilliant individuals, or they are expert technological crafters. We get to see them work together to do a thing, right? The two people that can't get along now have to work together and flip the switch at the exact same time. We can't screw this up. We've got one chance. All right, three, two, one. They work together, right? Because they hated each other before. Now we're working together. Yeah, absolutely. And then, like Deadman says, talk to a technician from NASA. They'll tell you space is extremely dangerous. I think that's also while I'm kind of joking around about broken tech. If we want to keep a level of verisimilitude, and let's say we're doing a little bit more hard sci-fi, the fact that things will break down and don't run at peak performance because space is so dangerous, I think does work. Whether it's something as simple as the stresses of uh, uh, um, metallurgical failure because of the stresses of a thing, or running out of air and oxygen and food and getting low on that, or just needing engines to run at peak performance. It takes a lot of work to run constantly, and we all know, honestly, everything man-made will break at some point. Yep. CO2 scrubbers. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Plur says your stuff keeps breaking in the debris field caused by stuff breaking. We're in a field of broken stuff. Watch out. Yep. Because things keep breaking. Mike Gould says Battletech leans into this as well. Worlds in the periphery have, with the exception of rare cases, older and unreliable tech. They become the Cuba of space where technology is jury rigged together. Yeah, absolutely. And jury rigging is like a staple of sci-fi, no matter how great the sci-fi is, right? We've always got that one hero that's got on the proverbial jumpsuit, blue collar worker, grease monkey jumpsuit. Like, all right, I guess I'm going to just have to get down on the hands and knees and fix the thing that's broken. And this person's like really good at cobbling together something. Maybe not necessarily a main character, but yeah, even the badass soldier on the edges of space often is like, I rely on my wits and a couple of handheld items. Yeah. Also, there's a lot of times where the the players, the protagonists, might be in a position where they don't have control over the technology. The space marines that are being dropped in onto planet, right? They don't control the battleship. They don't control the dreadnought. They don't pilot the drop ship that's coming down. They may not control the satellites that are floating over top to give them eyes in the sky. And so that gives us space as creators to go, you know what? Maybe this thing might fail. Maybe the drop ship, might not work exactly the way it should. It should. Yeah. Zamara brings up Warhammer 40K. Warhammer 40K justifies the broken tech trope for the humans by the fact that one, they don't understand their tech, and two, they usually get their tech from older than their blood. The tech is older than their bloodline. Oh yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And uh, that's also, in a way, that's also a great storyline too, right? Like um, technology was given to humanity from an alien species. We don't understand it quite well. Or maybe we're using much like today's use of nuclear technology, maybe we started using warp fields and just fill in chaos theory. I don't know. We start using a an element or a technology that we don't fully understand yet, especially when it comes to like hyperspace or something like that. Maybe we're using a power source that we don't really know what it does. We just know that it powers our starships, and we're done with, like, okay, long as we can get off our planet and get out of our solar system, we're done. But maybe there's something a little bit more to it. In Altered Carbon, the cortical stack, the thumb drive that's in your spinal cord that records all of your memories and experiences, that came from an alien, so-called Martian technology that in the world of Altered Carbon. Does humanity really understand what it does? Maybe not. They understand what it does for them, but there might be this gap of information, and that gap of information might be something that we can play with. Yeah, yeah. Mike Gould mentions that inner space worlds have access to better and more available tech, guided missiles, pulse lasers, etc. The periphery are adding unguided rockets and autocannons to internal combustion engines and such. Yeah, yeah. Everybody that plays on the outskirts of civilization, and oftentimes even within the inner worlds, the close knit galactic empires, usually the technology is not experimented with, right? We know that transporters work, I don't know, from here to here, this Stargate from this Stargate. We're not going to mess with it too much. We know how it works. Leave it alone. Don't touch the red button. This is how the technology works. And of course, our player characters are going to like modify everything. So even in inner worlds, everyone knows it works a specific way, so they don't mess with it. So that's also a great way to explain why something fails. It's because, well, it was already set up to work a certain way. You screwed with it. Yeah, Mike's like, essentially they run technicals, or reference to the Toyota pickups armed with machine guns and missiles and such that we often see in like the the military fighting against terrorists or something. Except their technicals are walking combat robots. Yep, technicals. Just essentially in the world, they're like beat up Toyota pickup trucks with a weapon on the back of it. Yep. So Mara says, DBJ, it's always an orange jumpsuit with a human-sized monkey or socket wrench. Yeah, the classic orange jumpsuit, pockets everywhere. Got to have the goggles sitting up on the top of the forehead. Yep. Oh man, Paradox says Stargate. Most of the humans had no clue how it really worked, and there were a dozen reasons for the gates to not work or to have the gate send you to the wrong planet. Also, here's a couple of other reasons why things didn't work. Time, hey, we can get the engine started in 37 hours. Great. All right, now our not only are our characters stuck, but they also have a time limit. Hey, listen, the navigation systems will be ready in 37 hours when the planets align. Yeah, you better make a run for it until that time, right? So now you have a ticking clock. We've got to wait. You got to hurry up and wait, right? So yeah, Mike Gould says, man, look at the whole Mad Max setting. Unreliable tech is core to the post-apocalyptic setting. I love post-apoc cobbled together mechanisms and such. A little difficult to do in a role-playing game, but visually, George Miller, oh man, his world is so sweet. So sweet. I still love the detail. Sorry, I know I'm segueing. I still love the detail of in Mad Max Fury Road where the War Boys are praying to the altar of steering wheels, and they have their fingers laced together to represent a V8 engine. And I'm like, they never explain that, but I heard that in a podcast about the making of or something, like the guzzling and all that. I'm just like, that is so. Even those details are awesome. Zamar says, that could be applied to modern day as well. Like you once mentioned, we know how to turn on a car, but how many of us know how an engine works? How to fix it, how to build it, exactly. And so there's space in there. There's a plenty of space in there for like storytelling and um, putting the player characters in a precarious situation, knowing that they're going to fiddle and futz with things that they shouldn't, or that, like a car today, no, 99% of the cars on the road are not off-road vehicles. You don't want to drive a supercar, sports car off-road, right? Just because it's a vehicle doesn't mean it should be used in the way it's meant to be. So even if you're like the PCs are in a limousine aerodyne, maybe they shouldn't be piloting it through acidic gases, or through a major city where there's like lots of traffic and you have to maneuver around it, or high winds or electrical storms or something like that. uh, Paradox Talk says the Genesis, that game, wow, the Genesis is great for having tech, but no clue how it works as you dug it out of ruins. I it A bit grimdark. The Genesis is extremely grimdark, but that is a fully realized post-apocalyptic setting after the, what is it, the Eschaton, the ton of ash, the Ashaton, after the meteoric impacts that destroyed the Mediterranean. That is a great side note, you guys, go over to degenesis.com. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Spell it out, degenesis.com, and you will see those their layout is sweet. Okay, so we've got engines, fail safes breaking down, but we also have uh, sensors and communications are a very common thing that doesn't work. And usually, sensors and communications always seem to coincide with like a horror bent. That's a very common thing where the players get a garbled message, or the sensors can't detect dangers that are around them, or the player characters go over the horizon and it's difficult for them to communicate back with the party. And also, something that used to be a thing that was never in science fiction, that because of the expanse is now embraced, is time delays when it comes to communication and sensor arrays. Yeah, what is Mike Watney? I don't remember his first name, but Watney from the Martian. He's trying to communicate back with Earth, but there's like an 8-minute delay or 20-minute delay or something like that to go back and forth. And he's got to spell out words. Like, he can't just type in a whole paragraph. So they have to wait like 8 minutes for every single letter to come through as he's trying to send back images. And it's just like, oh, what the heck? Oh, man. But yeah, sensors and communications failure because of reasons, right? Whether it's, again, background radiation, interference because of electromagnetic pulses. It might even be localized because of an engine room or a factory, or they are space miners are digging somewhere and there's lots of machinery. Maybe the PCs are underground, under 30 miles of ice. They are behind a moon. There's all kinds of reasons why things don't work. Heck, what was it? Our own planet Jupiter gives off such heavy electromagnetic impulses that it's very difficult to communicate with our current technology. So yeah, Pelora says Numenera is all about digging up tech you don't understand. Yeah. You could be using a fire extinguisher as a grenade. Whatever the thing was supposed to be for doesn't really matter. And that's kind of okay. This is where it becomes a good excuse both to take something away from the players, for them to then cobble something together, MacGyver the situation. Like, no, you don't give your players grenades, but they have the ability to then take a thing to make a grenade themselves, right? That's usually what happens. I mean, yes, I know whether they're special forces, gun-toting space marines or something. Yeah, sure, they have a lot of weaponry. But usually what happens is the weaponry goes out and they have to come up with an idea. And again, they take the fire extinguisher, wrap something around it, maybe make something electrical, maybe they break a tube that's spilling out gases, and then they start an electrical spark, and they take a thing and attach it to the thing to make a thing happen, and they make their own grenade, right? So, yeah. mm. Mm-mm-mm. Pandora Talk says 6 more vodka. The PDFs to the whole collection are free, and it's a lot. Oh, I haven't downloaded. Yes, the entire game, over 700 pages of PDF, and it's entirely free. Uses a D6 system, D6 dice pool system. Pretty cool. Zamara says, DBJ, I think it would be a 20-minute delay. 8 minutes is light lag time. That's right. It's 8 minutes. I thought it was eight. Well, I do know that you can play. Okay, or because of orbital distances, that sometimes we are close to Mars or a planet or something like that. We can play with the idea that two planets might be close to each other, reducing lag time, and then two planets might be very far away from each other. Heck, they might even have a sun or binary star or pulsar or something in between them, whatever the case might be. So yes, and I think you're absolutely right. I think it's like I'm conflating communications and light delay because communications moves at the speed of light. So I'm like, and it takes so long for like the light from the sun to reach the earth. Or yeah, I'm conflating a bunch of different sci-fi, science fiction realities with science fact with science fiction. Oof. Even my brain doesn't work sometimes. Sorry about that. Mike says Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, classic, which I have the paper version of that. Introduced what happens when technology is both alien and difficult to understand. Yeah, yeah. For those who don't know, the Expedition to the Barrier Peaks is a Dungeons and Dragons module that was took place in Greyhawk of all things. It actually took place in what was known as the Barrier Peaks Mountains, and it was a starship that landed, and you got to adventure around it as a fighter and a magic user and a thief and all that, long before rogues and all that came about. Yep. Long before wizards, it was the magic user. Deadman says thegenesis.com has some great artwork on their website, and their system is free to download. The map system is great. Oh man, it's sweet. Can't believe it's free. I really can't believe it's free. Eclipse. He goes on to say, Eclipse Phase has a list of all the space travel times in the core book. Yeah, there's a chart where you can go, okay, well, I'm on Luna and I need to get to Saturn. What's the average time it takes me to get from place to place? And in the core book for The Expanse, they have the same thing based on how fast you're traveling, whether it's uh, zero gravity, standard gravity, heavy acceleration. It's based on accelerative uh, gravity, accelerative engines based on um, the relative gravity you want in your starship. It's basically and it gives you distances. Now, in reality, we know that that time distance is going to modulate quite a bit because, like, nearly every 2 years, we are the closest launch window to get to Mars. So outside of those 2 years, we're getting further and further away from it. So that's actually kind of another thing to play with. Lag, time delay, spatial delays, orbits of things. There might even be interference because of orbits, whether there are micrometeors or comets or things of that nature, might be in the way of what we are trying to do. And along with also quarantine, it might be something man-made, quarantine zones, solar panel arrays that are hundreds of kilometers long and wide. There may be any number of those things might be man-made. Again, with the gas giant mining, those kind of things might. There might be a reason the player characters can't maneuver around, get communications. Sensors are put off because of other things happening, and they have to work around their issues, and we get to see how creative they are in working around their issues. Uh, uh, Z says, I just remembered something. The Shoggoth of the Cthulhu mythos technically counts as broken tech, as they were created for a long forgotten war. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Yeah, well, I was going to bring that up as another broken tech failure, but we'll get into it. Deadman says the Martian year is 687 days. That's why it's off from us. It's almost 2 years 2 years from us. Yeah, the Martian year, how long it takes to orbit around our sun to get back to its point. Yep, 687 days. You get there, it's going to be 2 years before you get back. Mm-mm-mm. Mike says Babylon 5 also addressed how technological differences can cause culture shock. Humans were used to magnetic boots for strapping themselves in a spacecraft. When exposed to other species' artificial gravity, yeah, it was a thing. Yep, and yeah, using, especially if we've got like alien technology or something like that. That's like, imagine in eclipse phase, you can be in a bouncer morph, which has hands where your feet should be. I don't know what they are officially called in nature. What do you call the feet of like marsupials or like gorillas and bonobos and stuff? I don't know what you call them, but I'm gonna call them fans. No, I'm gonna call them they could either be fans or they could be what's another thing. Anyway, your zero G opposable thumb where your feet are at, right? I'm sure a bouncer morph and a person in a bouncer prehensile feet. I guess prehensile feet. Okay. Imagine trying to a person who doesn't have feet like that or prehensile feet trying to pilot a starcraft where you have four mechanisms that you can control, and that would be pretty difficult to do. And using people that grow up in zero gravity or even very light gravity might have an easier time piloting their ships. Um, in the Expanse, they even did that, right? They knew they were going to get into a battle, so what did everybody do? They turned on their mag boots because hey, they're not under constant acceleration to simulate 1G, so they all had to put on their mag boots. What else happened in the Expanse television show? That a person was warned by Amos, put all the tools away and lock them away because we're going to do some heavy maneuvering, and an errant wrench and a couple of bolts banging around the inside of a starship is not a good thing. Which another that's another thing that where it's the broken tech is that it's not that we want the tech to break, it's the circumstances. It is the spinning hab stopped spinning. Now we're in zero G, but all the stuff in the hab is starting to float around. And hey, I'm having a running gun battle inside of a warehouse filled with a bunch of pallets that weigh hundreds or thousands of kilometers apiece. A kilometer, gee, you know what I mean? Kilograms apiece. I'm doing my part. I'm doing my own. How many parsecs does it take to travel somewhere? Well, as a time frame, anyway. You know what I mean. You've got pallets of heavy stuff floating around in zero G, and you've got a running gun battle. So what happens? Our player characters have to run, dodge, move, bounce, hide behind, not get crushed by things. And why the heck not? Why the heck not? Excuse me. Wow. Paradox says the effects of long-term zero G on the human body was another issue, or shielding from solar flares. Yeah, yeah. There are some settings that talk about uh, calcium hacks where maybe humanity has figured out a way to biologically, like maybe they're eating like calcium tabs might be a normal thing, or maybe it's put in like fluoride is put into into the water to ensure that we don't worry about like heart attacks or thin bones or whatnot. Or like I have my own sci-fi setting where the first humans that lived were born on the moon are like Lunarians, and the Lunites are extremely tall, and they do kind of have thin bones, but they're also extremely adept at moving around in light gravity. So yeah. Thanks, Z. Like, God, geez, they weigh so much, it can only be measured in distance. Yeah, we're moving pallets of star systems. uh, I'm sorry. What's the code on your galaxy you needed to find? Here, let me check the index. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, that's your galaxy, the one with the five black holes in the middle of it. Yeah, that's. Just put it in storage. All right, so Um, I, another broken tech is, I guess we can relate this to like like transporter technology, or even hyperspace technology, is the tech that we know is broken, but we like to mess with it anyway. We carry it around with us, whether it's like biological enhancements, whether it's cyber technology. It's the alien infestation that's on the ship is supposed to be in quarantine, but one of the fail safes breaks. It's it's the alien parasite that sits on the back of my neck that everybody else is fearful of, but it gives my player character certain extra capabilities, but we still don't know what it does. It's the magitech, the arcana tech, the technology we kind of don't know what it's supposed to do. We only know the upper surface, and yeah, we just did talk about it, but sometimes our main characters kind of walk around with things that maybe they shouldn't, and and the fail safes have been peeled back from it. I mean, how many times have we seen people get flushed out of an airlock, and what do? They just pressed a simple button. Now I know we've seen other things where you have to like move a control panel, put a key in, pull a handle down, repeat the message that you want them to do the thing where the claxons are going off. But we've seen other ones where it's just like get in the airlock, press button, and you're like, it shouldn't be that easy, but it is. It is. All right. The co-hosts are saying, Paradox says in the modern battle tech in the model. Wow, I am really flubsing today. My brain tech isn't working very well. All right, in the modern Battlestar Galactica, they were always struggling for water. Yeah, just basic needs: water, power, a clean water source, and power is extremely necessary in space because you got to take everything with you, which is kind of awesome to think about as well. Mike Gould says interstellar travel in BattleTech uses the concept of jump ships. Jump ships are older than even battle mechs, and their drives can be quirky. Anything that folds space by targeting gravity wells can be a crapshoot for all but the most experienced engineers. Yep, jump ships and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, kind of like Event Horizon. Yep. Jump ships that malfunction can appear light years off target, can appear at different times in the center of a sun, or worse. Yeah. Oh, you arrived. Yeah, but we kind of arrived inside out. you know. Oh man. Zamar says, if I may, okay, the unconventional conventional fuel trope is always nice. Ooh, okay. It's fun flying around your new super powerful starship until you find out that it's powered by children's screams. Yes, the unconventional conventional fuel. It's like, hey guys, the tech works, and the heroes are like, how does it work? Don't stop worrying about that. Just use the thing to make the thing. Yeah, yeah. There was one. Sure, it wasn't powered by children's screams, but there was a sci-fi series I read called On Distant Shores, and the only way to pilot through hyperspace were people who had psychological issues and multiple personalities and stuff. And there was a corporation torturing people behind the scenes to turn them into starship pilots, which kind of weird. And one of them escaped, and it was a young girl. And the young girl escapes, and you don't know this in the beginning, but she's got all these personalities in her head trying to keep her alive. And one's a badass martial artist, and another one's an engineer, and another one's a caregiver, another one's a lost child in this woman's mind, and or pretty young girl's mind and stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah. Fourth and fifth dimensional space would turn you insane. The idea was that they were using uh, people on the spectrum to help them pilot ships, and I was like, ooh. And then when you found out how they piloted ships, you were like, ooh. Mike Gould says, I wrote an entire series of short stories in the BT universe. Uh, why did my brain just shut down? All based on what if a jump ship malfunctioned. The Why did my brain just stop? It adds an element of horror to science fiction. Yeah, the battle tech. Sorry, but wow. I must really be tired because I it was a rough day at work yesterday and I still haven't recovered. I still haven't recovered. Soul coins in Avernus. Ooh, war machines powered by burning souls. Yeah. It's powered by paradox. Yes, Battletech. Sorry. I was literally because okay, so right in front of me, let me show you something here because how much of an idiot I am. Right here is I don't let's see if the camera will focus in on it. It won't refocus. These are like miniatures I have sitting in front of me. Like, right? Like they're literally in the bottom of a computer. And this is a Battletech miniature sitting right here. I'm literally staring at it. I'm just like, sorry about that, guys. I sorry. It's it is a problem with the brain and the neurons firing. It's not anything that you guys did. There's a story in the BattleTech universe called Far Country, which is about a jump ship that encounters an anomaly that sends the ship thousands of light years away. And yeah, heck, we have a whole Star Trek series that was based on that. Yeah, and you know, there's plenty of other limitations. I guess if the tech isn't broken, that we have lots of limitations. Whether it is like, hey, the only way to get your starship from A to B is you have to go through a wormhole, and those wormholes are rare or far between or need to be predicted. Or maybe there are stargates large enough to get like a battle cruiser through it, but you have to physically arrive at the location you want to be, unfold the Stargate that you have to get your battle cruiser through it, and then turn it on to link one maybe Stargate to the other Stargate or something like that. Maybe you're not allowed to hyperspace any closer than 5 light years from the nearest star or something like that. That if you hyperspace too close to a sun, you'll fall into it. So you have to go to the outer edges of the solar system. You know, hey, you can't get any closer than the Oort cloud to Earth. You know, Mike Gould says those are battle armor minis from Mech Warrior Clicks. I have cases and cases. Yeah, I don't have cases and cases, but yep. Hero Clicks. Oh man, all the clicks. Yeah, yeah, I love them. Burning souls. Yeah. Now the question is it powered by burning souls or by burning souls? Right. Is it powered by evil people and their souls are just burning and that's what fuels it? Because it's not. You don't want to. You want quality souls. You want quality. Highly incendiary souls, or is it you're just taking innocent souls of people and they're like, please don't put me in the engine? Yeah. Well, there goes the revive spells. Yep, hells yes. The coins are expand. That's kind of cool. And again, like maybe like you guys are mentioning, even though we're kind of having some fun with this, maybe there is a fuel type of something that powers something that might be either questionable or rare, or the again our player characters are like, I didn't know it was powered by that. Really? Ooh. Heck, we've even seen where technology has side effects on the people. Like the technology works, but like Michael mentions up here where he says kind of like Event Horizon, maybe traveling through hyperspace is just dangerous for the mind, drives you insane, or that cyber technology like in Cyberpunk, all the Cyberpunk iterations, 2013, 2020, 2050 something, what is it, Cyberpunk Red, 2077, maybe too much cyber technology takes away your humanity. Maybe those uh, bio augmented injections or nanotech or something that's swirling around in your bloodstream has some other debilitating effects. So the technology works; it's you that's going to disappear. That those kind of things. Heck, even in transhumanism with cortical stacks, who knows? You might wake up in another kind of you might be re-sleeved into a body that's not exactly comfortable. You might have some body dysmorphia, or something of that nature. Now, the uh, remember that even if we're going to incorporate limitations on broken tech, that it's up to us to ensure that to have the players understand what they expect to happen in this world. We know, like Mad Max, post-apocalyptic thing. It is almost written into the rules that all the stuff you're going to have is going to break down. You're going to have a shotgun, and you have maybe three shotgun shells, and they actually might not work. Right? Your vehicle you're driving has you're driving on fumes because you got to get gasoline at the next stop or whatever. It's always You're always running on fumes and using resources to have to cobble together things. But if we're working at a very high level of technology, uh, Star Wars level, I'll pick as an example. If you're not on the edge of the outer rim planets, you're going to have to explain why it is that the player characters who are piloting around a perfectly good starship or vehicles, or they've armed themselves to the teeth, why it is that their gyrojet rockets in their pistol don't work, or why their laser cannons are running out of energy. And I think coming up with, like, foreshadowing what's going on. Maybe their items are black market, or the agency they're working for is like, listen, you can't walk around with all these heavy weapons. We can give you some sidearms, but that's about it, because you're going to have to explain yourself. Just letting people know up front, like, there's going to be issues if you try to abuse the system. Because we know players will abuse the system in a hot second. Zamara says Eclipse Phase does have the issue of you being able to upload yourself multiple times pre-death. I think it's called forking. Of course, I keep reading that wrong though. No, you're right, Z. Okay, the some people consider Eclipse Phase to be the reset game. Okay, it's like when you play a video game and you get to respawn from a certain point, you are able to do that. Death is actually, in many ways, taken off the table for that game system. Yet it's a pretty lethal and pretty dangerous game to begin with. So if you take a copy of your own brain, that is called forking, where you have a cortical stack that's digital information. You make a copy, and then the two brains of yourself are two separate entities that might be exactly the same. You could also shave off a little bit of your brain, so it's not an exact duplicate. It's what they call like a beta or like a gamma portion of your personality, but that's a different story. There's also the fact that you can go into suicide missions, and I've mentioned this before about Eclipse Phase. Like, people running Eclipse Phase, kill your PCs off, kill them off like it's candy, like it's going out of style. Why? Because for the most part, most of the firewall agents running around in the Eclipse Phase world have backups back home, or the starship, or the home base, or in the habitat or something. So if they get killed off, they can come back as a copy of their from a downloaded copy. The problem with that is there is a actual mechanical function in the game where you have discorporated memories. So if you go into a suicide mission and get killed and then get resleeved from a backup, you don't remember the mission. Yeah. and there are ways to get around that too. Like Deadman says, backup in the cloud. Like, there are backups in the cloud where you can attach like a neutrinos link to your cortical stack, so that if you just before you get killed, or you do get killed, you can have that everything in your stack uploaded so that you do remember, but then you have to take the precautions to do that in the first place, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Now, and Z, you're not reading it wrong, or not at all. It's pretty complicated too. Mike Gould says, actually, Mech Warrior Dark Age will have tons of refitted industrial ice mechs, I guess internal combustion mechs, guns, rockets, etc., retrofitted to machines meant for construction, mining, and forestry. Ooh, repurposing things is awesome too. Repurposing things is tight. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, there's lots of reasons why broken tech works, and I think like we're talking here just talking about general things that break, whether communications, engine systems, hyperspace travel, transporters, um, uh, robots that are out of control, and a rogue AI systems and whatnot, hacking in, needing to hack into your own computer systems to get a thing to work. It honestly, it's all fun. It's just most of us want to imagine ourselves as badasses. And if we can't be a badass, we like to see other people being badasses. And badasses could be, of course we have like martial artists or acrobats or like the physical part of it, but there's also a mental part. The person that, like the movie The Martian, we get to see somebody who's like who he literally says, uh, you know, I'm going to have to joy rig the shit out of this. Like I'm going to have to like hack this apart and figure out how the hell I'm going to survive. And the person who comes up with the best way, the intellectual way to finagle their way around a situation. Ooh, our engines are dead and we're dead in the water and they've launched missiles at us and they'll get to us in 17 minutes. Let's see if we reverse the polarity and send the nebula. There's lots of gases here, and like a ramjet, we can start our engines again. And we're yeah, I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's actually kind of cool. And if we give our player characters, our protagonists, the opportunity to do that, on in the beginning, some players are just going to get pissed off. Like, I don't understand why my laser cannon doesn't work anymore. I just want to shoot things. But on the other hand, the person who finds the power core that extracts it out of the robot to attach it to their backpack, to attach it to the laser cannon, they get it to fire again, kind of might seem kind of cool, right? There's a kind of a coolness to the MacGyverisms of things. And so yeah. Mike says, reverse the polarity was used in the next generation more times than I can count. Yeah. Reverse the polarity. What does that mean? It's polarity reversing? No, but I mean, like, these two things shouldn't even be. How do you reverse the polarity of our sensor array into our engine room? I don't understand why you're asking this question. Mike says transporter accident is the basis of what, 10% of all Star Trek episodes? Yep, and what? Let's see, 38% problems happen in the holodeck. You would think they would jettison the holodeck after all the lethal problems that happened because of that damn thing, but nope, nope. It is the place where all the happiness and goodness goes. Everyone's like, please don't jettison, don't get rid of the holodeck. Man, so Mars says, I'm going to bow out. Good morning. And remember, don't cross your warp streams in space unless you cause the neutrinos to go nova in the Zoan fields. Yeah. Don't do it. Hey, have a great one there, Z, and everybody. But anyway, we've come to the end here. Thank you guys so much for just being part of the show. I thought we would just have some fun, just talking about some things, tropish um, things that are going around. By the way, just to let you guys know that SoundCloud, this show is going to turn more and more in. I'm going to double my efforts to make sure that the show becomes a podcast. So not only do we go live on YouTube and Twitch, and the audio gets punched out to the Discord server and on Facebook live Monday through Friday, but our SoundCloud account for the podcast is also available for those who basically A, can't be here live, B, don't have the bandwidth to do all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Ride eternal, shiny, and unbroken. Yeah. Don't scuff the chrome. Guys, have a great one. I will see thee later. Not sure what we're going to do next week. Are we going to still continue with the clickbaity stuff? I don't know. Maybe. There's still plenty left in there in the tank, but we might want to take a break from that. But anyway, Pelora says, honestly found today helpful. Made a bunch of notes and have the seeds for a dungeon. Yeah. RIP. Good to see you across the pond. Everybody have take care. Thank you very much there, Mike. Have a great one. You guys take it easy. I will see you later. Gotta head